Everything you have been told about cancer prevention after 50 is incomplete. And if you are over 60, that gap in knowledge matters more than most people realize. I am Dr. Alina Serratia, and after more than 2 decades in oncology, I can tell you this with complete honesty. No single habit can guarantee that you will never develop cancer. But there is one simple daily habit with some of the strongest evidence we have for helping lower cancer risk as we age. And it does not start in a pharmacy. It does not start in a supplement bottle. It does not start with an expensive detox. It starts with movement. The kind of movement most people dismiss because it looks too simple to matter. Here is the shock point. Cancer incidence rises to more than 1,000 cases per 100,000 people in age groups 60 and older, and the median age of a cancer diagnosis is 67. What I am going to show you today is why a daily walking and moving routine may help lower the biological conditions that allow cancer to take hold after 50, why sitting for most of the day quietly works against you, and why many people who think they are being healthy are still missing the one detail that matters most. Stay with me until the end, because I am going to give you the exact routine I use with my older patients, including what time of day to move, how much you actually need, how to do it safely if you are over 60, and the mistake that wipes out much of the benefit. Before we dive in, I need to know something from you. Comment below your age, where you are watching from, and whether you deal with fatigue, stiffness, shortness of breath, or long hours of sitting every day. I read those comments, and they help me understand what you are dealing with. Now, let me explain what is really happening inside your body, because most people are told they are just slowing down, and that is far too vague to be useful. The medical word I want you to understand is inflammaging. That sounds complicated, but the meaning is simple. It is chronic, low-grade inflammation that tends to rise with age. Normal inflammation is supposed to act like a fire alarm. It turns on when you need protection, then turns off. Inflammaging is different. It is the alarm that keeps buzzing in the background all day and all night, even when there is no emergency. Over time, that constant signal may damage tissues, interfere with repair, worsen insulin resistance, weaken immune surveillance, and create a body environment that is more favorable to cancer development and progression. Why does this matter so much after 60? Because aging itself is the biggest overall risk factor for cancer, and aging tissues are also more prone to low-grade inflammation, slower repair, and the buildup of senescent cells that release inflammatory chemicals into surrounding tissue. In simple terms, your internal terrain changes. Your body becomes less efficient at cleaning up cellular damage and more likely to stay stuck in a state of quiet irritation. That is one reason movement matters so much. It does not magically cure anything, but it can help shift that terrain in a healthier direction. The numbers here are sobering, but they are also hopeful. In a 2025 NIH and University of Oxford study of more than 85,000 adults with a median age of 63, the people with the highest total amount of daily physical activity had a 26% lower risk of developing 13 activity-related cancers compared with the least active group. Even more practical, compared with 5,000 steps per day, cancer risk was 11% lower at 7,000 steps and 16% lower at 9,000 steps, with benefits leveling off beyond that. In a separate cohort study of 1,542 older adults with a median age of 73 followed for 9 years, even being insufficiently active was associated with lower cancer risk than being inactive, and those who were sufficiently active had an even lower risk. Here is what this looks like in real life. You stop taking the stairs because your legs feel heavy. You park closer and closer to the store because the walk feels annoying. You sit after breakfast, then sit after lunch, then sit through the afternoon, telling yourself you will do something later. You notice your waist getting thicker, your sleep getting lighter, your energy getting flatter. Then one day, you try to stand up quickly and feel unsteady. Or you try to keep up with a grandchild and realize your body is negotiating with you for every step. Your world starts shrinking, not because you are lazy, not because you do not care, but because your body is slowly adapting to stillness. And here is the part many seniors need to hear from me directly. This is not your fault. You did not choose inflammaging. You did not choose age-related insulin resistance. You did not choose the way retirement, pain, caregiving, fatigue, or fear of falling can slowly trap a person in a chair. If no one explained to you that sitting too much is not neutral, and that small amounts of daily movement still matter, even if you cannot do intense exercise, then you were missing one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. That changes today. Let me tell you about a patient I will call Walter, because I am changing details to protect his privacy. Walter was 68, a retired mechanic with strong hands, a stubborn streak, and the kind of man who believed he had earned the right to rest after decades of work. When I first met him, he told me he was tired all the time. His belly had grown, his back was stiff in the morning, and he had stopped walking the dog because he felt winded halfway down the block. His doctor had told him to watch his diet and lose a little weight, which was not bad advice. It was incomplete. Walter heard that and translated it into one thing: eat less. So he started buying antioxidant supplements, skipped breakfast some days, and spent even more time sitting because he felt weak and unmotivated. He thought he was protecting himself. In reality, he was losing muscle, moving less, and spending most of his waking day in a metabolic state that worked against him. Then came the turning point. He started getting short of breath carrying laundry and noticed his stools looked darker, but he waited. He told himself it was age. His wife finally insisted he get checked. Testing found iron deficiency anemia, and a colonoscopy revealed a bleeding lesion that had already become a serious problem. Now, I cannot tell you that walking would have guaranteed a different outcome. No honest oncologist would say that. But I can tell you that the years of inactivity, weight gain around the abdomen, and mounting metabolic dysfunction were red flags that had been ignored for far too long. Walter looked at me in tears and said, "I thought resting was helping me heal." That sentence has stayed with me because so many people over 60 are doing exactly what Walter did. They are waiting for a pill, a lab result, or a crisis to force the issue. If this story sounds familiar, or if you are already seeing some of those early warning signs in yourself, comment "sitting" below. I want to see how many people are dealing with this right now. Now, before I show you what actually works, we need to clear out the bad advice. Because if you are doing any of these things, you may not just be wasting time. You may be creating a false sense of security. The first mistake is believing that a supplement can replace movement. You have probably heard some version of this before. Take this antioxidant. Take that anti-inflammatory capsule. Take this mushroom blend. Now listen carefully. I am not saying all supplements are useless. Some have a role, but there is no supplement that replaces the biology of contracting your muscles, increasing blood flow, improving insulin handling, reducing prolonged sitting time, and supporting weight control. The American Cancer Society is very clear that there is no one food or nutrient that meaningfully reduces cancer risk on its own. Patterns matter, behavior matters, consistency matters. I have seen patients spend hundreds of dollars every month on powders and pills while averaging barely 2,000 steps a day. They feel virtuous, but their waistlines keep growing, their stamina keeps shrinking, and their bodies never get the signal to adapt in a healthier direction. That is like polishing the outside of a car while never changing the oil. The second mistake is sitting all day and trying to erase it with one exercise session. This one surprises people. They think, "I walked for 20 minutes, so I am fine." But sedentary behavior has emerged as an independent risk factor. In other words, moving once does not fully cancel out sitting the rest of the day. The physiology of standing and muscle contraction supports glucose regulation, circulation, and endothelial function in ways that prolonged sitting does not. That is why more health organizations now emphasize both parts of the message. Move more and sit less. Just a few months ago, I saw a 71-year-old woman I will call Gloria. She proudly told me she exercised 3 times a week. When I asked what the rest of her day looked like, she laughed and said, "Doctor, I am basically furniture." She sat through breakfast, sat reading, sat watching television, sat doing puzzles, then took one short walk in the evening. Her exercise habit was real, but her total day was still dominated by stillness. Once she understood that, everything changed. The third mistake is chasing intensity instead of consistency. This is especially common in people who say, "If I cannot do a hard workout, why bother?" That idea is costing many seniors their health. The strongest cancer prevention guidelines do not begin with punishing exercise. They begin with moderate activity you can repeat week after week. Brisk walking, gentle hills, stationary cycling, water aerobics, movement you can recover from and return to. The goal is not to feel destroyed. The goal is to send your body the right signal over and over again. The fourth mistake is believing you are too old to start. This is one of the saddest myths I hear. "Doctor, if I did not build this habit at 40, it is too late now." No, that is not what the evidence suggests. In the older adult cohort I mentioned earlier, even lower than recommended leisure time activity was associated with lower cancer risk than complete inactivity. Not perfect, not athletic, just better than none. Tell me in the comments which of those mistakes surprised you most. Or comment, "Starting now," if you have been waiting for the perfect time and you are ready to stop waiting. Now let us talk about what actually works. What I am about to share with you are 5 parts of one simple daily habit. Not a miracle, not a gimmick, a movement pattern that works with your biology instead of against it. The 5th part is this: stop giving your chair uninterrupted control of your day. Every 30 to 60 minutes, stand up and move for 2 to 3 minutes. Walk to the kitchen, march in place, do 10 sit-to-stands. Hold the counter and do heel raises. The point is not calories. The point is interruption. When you interrupt sitting, you trigger muscle contraction, increase blood flow, and help your body manage glucose more effectively. That matters because high insulin and chronic inflammation are both linked to cancer risk. The 4th part is a short walk after meals, especially after dinner. This is one of my favorite strategies for people over 60 because it is simple, safe for many people, and disproportionately effective. In a randomized crossover trial in older adults at risk for impaired glucose tolerance, 3 15-minute walks after meals were as effective as one sustained 45-minute walk for improving 24-hour glucose control, and post-meal walking was especially effective for lowering after-dinner glucose. Why does that matter for cancer prevention? Because better glucose handling usually means less prolonged insulin exposure, and NCI specifically lists prevention of high blood insulin as one of the ways physical activity may help reduce cancer risk. The 3rd part is aiming for a realistic daily step range instead of chasing a fantasy workout. For many of my older patients, the sweet spot is building gradually towards 7,000 to 9,000 steps a day, adjusted for mobility, pain, and medical history. The reason I like that range is because it is practical, and it is now supported by newer data. In the 2025 NIH analysis, compared with 5,000 steps per day, cancer risk was lower at 7,000 and lower still at 9,000, while pace mattered less than total movement. That tells me something important. You do not need to move like an athlete. You need to move like a consistent human being. The 2nd part is making sure your movement is moderate, often enough to count. Moderate means your breathing is faster, but you can still speak in short sentences. It does not mean gasping. It does not mean pain. National Cancer Prevention and Public Health Guidance recommends 150 to 300 minutes of moderate activity per week. And for many seniors, that can simply mean 30 minutes of brisk walking on most days, broken into smaller chunks if needed. That could be 10 minutes after breakfast, 10 after lunch, and 10 after dinner. Small pieces still count. And the first part, the one many people overlook, is protecting muscle while you move. Adults also need muscle strengthening work at least 2 days a week, and older adults benefit from balance training too. Why am I including this in a cancer prevention conversation? Because muscle is not just for strength. Muscle is a metabolic organ. The more muscle you preserve, the better your body tends to handle glucose, maintain function, and resist the spiral into frailty and inactivity. Simple strength work counts. Sit to stands from a chair, wall push-ups, resistance bands, carrying light groceries safely, heel-to-toe balance near a counter. This is how you keep movement possible for the long term. Let me tell you what happened with another patient I will call Margaret. She was 72, a retired teacher, bright, organized, and absolutely convinced she needed a complicated answer. When she came to me, she was pre-diabetic, sleeping poorly, carrying most of her weight around the middle, and walking less every month because her knees felt stiff when she got started. She said, "Doctor, just tell me which supplement I am missing." I told her the truth. I said, "Margaret, I do not think your body needs more mystery. I think it needs more movement." We built a routine so simple, she almost laughed. Stand every hour. Walk 10 to 15 minutes after dinner. Add 1 extra lap around the block in the morning. Work towards 7,000 steps. Do sit-to-stands and band pulls twice a week. That was it. No expensive devices, no heroic workouts, just repetition. The first week, she noticed she was less stiff getting out of bed. By the second week, her evening cravings were calmer and her digestion felt better after dinner. Within 6 weeks, she had more energy, better stamina on stairs, and enough confidence to start walking with a neighbor every morning. A few months later, her primary care doctor told her her numbers were moving in the right direction. Her waist was smaller, and she looked 10 pounds lighter in the face alone. Margaret told me, with tears in her eyes, "I finally feel like my body is working with me again." That is the hidden power of this habit. It does not just change one lab value, it changes momentum. Which part of this routine are you going to try first? Comment breaks. After dinner, steps, or strength. And if this is helping you understand what has really been happening in your body, hit subscribe. This channel is for people who want research-backed, practical, no-nonsense health guidance they can actually use. Now, here is what most people miss. These 5 parts work even better together. Standing breaks reduce the damage of prolonged sitting. Post-meal walks improve glucose handling. Daily steps increase total activity. Moderate weekly movement builds consistency. Strength work preserves the muscle that makes all the other movement possible. Put them together, and you are not just exercising. You are changing the terrain inside your body in a way that may support lower inflammation, better insulin control, healthier weight regulation, stronger immunity, and more independence. So let me give you the exact way I want you to start. Tomorrow morning, after breakfast, walk for 10 minutes at an easy pace and let your joints warm up. Through the rest of the day, set a timer so you stand and move every 30 to 60 minutes. After dinner, take a 10 to 15-minute walk. If your balance is limited, walk in your hallway, in place near a sturdy counter, or in a safe indoor space. Your first goal is not speed. Your first goal is completion, then build from there. In the second week, add 5 more minutes to one of your walks, or add a few hundred extra steps to your day. On 2 non-consecutive days each week, do 1 short strength session, 10 sit-to-stands, 10 wall push-ups, 10 band rows if you have a band, a few balance drills while holding a chair. Keep it simple enough that you can repeat it. That is how habits survive. Track only a few things: your daily steps, Whether you took your post-dinner walk, how many times you interrupted sitting, how steady you feel getting up from a chair, how your energy feels in the morning. You do not need a complicated spreadsheet. You need visible proof that you are following through. Now let me set realistic expectations. In the first 3 days, most people do not feel dramatically different, but they often notice less stiffness and a little more mental clarity. During days 4 through 7, many start to feel lighter after meals and less sluggish in the evening. By weeks 2 through 4, walking usually feels more automatic. Stairs feel less intimidating, and energy becomes more stable. By weeks 4 through 8, this is when many people tell me they feel more capable, more mobile, and more hopeful. Not cured, not transformed overnight, but clearly moving in the right direction. Before we go further, let me be very clear about safety. If you have chest pain, severe shortness of breath, dizziness, recent surgery, major balance problems, neuropathy, uncontrolled blood sugar, severe arthritis flare, bone metastases, or you are in active cancer treatment, you need personal medical guidance before starting or changing an exercise plan. If you take insulin or medicines that can lower blood sugar, talk to your doctor about timing and safety. And this is crucial. Walking is not a replacement for screening. It does not replace colonoscopy, mammography, lung cancer screening if you qualify, skin checks, or evaluation of warning symptoms like unexplained weight loss, blood in the stool, new lumps, or persistent bleeding. This information is educational and based on research. But I'm not your personal physician. Please work with your own clinician for individualized care. And let me answer a few questions I hear all the time. What if you miss a day? Then you miss a day. Resume the next one. One missed day does not undo progress. What if you can only do 5 minutes? Then start with 5. What if your knees hurt when you begin? Warm up slowly, shorten the session, consider flat surfaces, supportive shoes, water walking, or physical therapy guidance. What if you do not see results quickly? Then check the basics. Are you still sitting for hours without interruption? Are you doing your walk after dinner? Are you doing enough total weekly movement? Are you protecting your muscle with strength work? Progress usually follows consistency. So let us bring this all together. You now understand that rising cancer risk after 50 is not just random bad luck. Age increases risk, and the internal environment of inactivity, excess sitting, chronic inflammation, weight gain, and poor insulin control may make that risk worse. But you also know something empowering now. Daily movement can help push back, not with hype, not with promises, with biology, with consistency, with a habit simple enough to start tonight. Some people will watch this entire video and do nothing. They will tell themselves they will start Monday. They will wait until the weather is better. They will wait until they feel more motivated. They will wait for a bigger scare. But that is not you. You stayed with me because you want control back. You want energy back. You want stability back. You want to know that you are doing something real for your future, not just hoping for the best. If this video gave you information you can actually use, subscribe right now. It is free. It takes 1 second, and it helps me keep making this kind of evidence-based health guidance for people over 60 who deserve straight answers instead of confusion. And do 3 things for me before you go. First, comment what surprised you most. Was it the step count data, the power of post-meal walking, or the danger of sitting too long? Second, hit subscribe if you have not already and be part of this community of people taking their health seriously. Third, share this with someone over 50 who spends too much of the day in a chair and still thinks that is harmless. It is not harmless. And this information may help them more than you know. In my next video, I am going to show you the common evening habit that quietly drives inflammation higher after 60 and what to do instead if you want better sleep, better blood sugar control, and better odds of staying strong as you age. You do not want to miss that.
me puedes dio din inserir